Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the Two Ewes of Two Ewes Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at twoewesfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our Two Ewes Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am betterinmotion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Hi, Kelly.
Hey, Marsha, how are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good. Do you have wine tonight?
No, I don't.
It's not morning, so we could be drinking wine.
No, it's now, let's see, what time is it? It's almost it's a little past 5:30.
5:30, yeah.
On Thursday.
Yeah.
And full disclosure, I already had a beer.
Okay.
So,
well, that's why I don't have, I guess we're in the same boat, because that's why I don't have a glass of wine, because Robert and I went out to Monterey, and we took the dogs and we walked on the rec trail. And this is the first time I've been out on the rec trail. I'm pretty sure it's the first time I've been out there since March of 2020. So it was really nice. It was a beautiful day. We got to watch, there were two women there with SPCA shirts on, and they had these boxes that were like the pet store boxes, like, you know, you bring home an animal in with holes in the sides.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so I saw that, and then I saw their shirts, and I thought, oh, I bet they're releasing something from the wildlife center. On the edge of this little point where they were sitting was a seagull, and they were watching it. And so Robert and I stopped to watch too. And pretty soon, the bird is making all kinds of noise, and and they're just just kind of standing back and watching. And finally, it takes off, and the one woman says, "Go, falcon, go, and never come back."
Oh,
so we watched.
sweet.
Yeah, we got to watch a seagull be released from. I don't, who knows what was the reason that it was in the wildlife center, but that was pretty cool. And Barry had a good time. We did probably 3 miles on the rec trail with him, so he's doing better with the longer miles.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. He's gotten.
And what's he like on those 3 miles? Is he huffing and puffing, or is he doing pretty good?
He by the end he was kind of slow, and it was one of those kind of walks where, we weren't just powering through it. We stopped, let him sniff, stopped, look at the scenery. It was that kind of walk. So slower than Bailey would like to go.
Yeah.
She's itching to just, she likes to stop and sniff too, but she's itching to just take a walk where we just move, Actually, I think she would probably like it if I ran. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I think she would like that. So they had a good time. We had a good time. But the reason I'm not having wine is not because I saw a bird be released or I took a walk on the rec trail. It was because after that, this was our little date day, because it's Robert's day off. We went to lunch and wine tasting at Taste of Monterey. We had our subscription to pick up for the month of August. And so Robert made reservations, and it was the first time I've been inside eating.
Oh, yeah.
Since March. They had probably it's a pretty good sized space. And they had, I would say, probably 5 tables maybe was the most they had while we were there. And they had these big fans going, and we were all, spaced apart, and, of course, wearing masks when you arrive, but you can't eat or drink wine with a mask. But they don't do wine tasting, like where you stand at the bar and do the wine tasting where they pour you the 6 little pours. They're doing flights. So we got our free flights, and oh my God, that was a lot of wine.
Well, and Kelly, I saw your Instagram post when I got back today, and I noticed there was a lot of wine, but there was no food. You did have lunch, right?
We did, yes. We started with wine first. We both had clam chowder, and then they have they have a lot of different food, but we got this flatbread pizza. And then we each had a bowl of clam chowder. So, but yeah, I've had my wine for the day because we had the flight, and then one of the ones from the flight, I decided I wanted a glass of it. But it was pretty generous flight.
I sometimes find that the wine tasting is a lot of wine.
Yeah,
it can add up to several glasses, probably.
Yeah, no, these were. I think because they don't have a lot of customers. You know, it's all very restricted. We had to have reservations, and I think it was supposed to be 3 2-ounce pours, but I think these were more than that because they looked like very generous pours. So, but very good. I had white wine and Robert had red, and it was a fun day. We I haven't done anything like that in a really long time. Well, like everyone else,
Yeah. So are they? It sounds like they're still sort of strict about masks and.
Oh yeah.
So because it's interesting here in Seattle, they're still. Well, it's hard to know. People are out walking around without masks on.
Yeah, outside it was mixed.
Yeah,
and I don't wear a mask outside unless there was a couple of places on the trail where it got crowded. That I put my mask on, just because there were so many people.
It's interesting where you go in stores. Like I went the hardware store, everybody's masked up. The grocery store, everybody's masked up. I went down, this a couple of weeks ago, I went down to pick up some Thai food. They were masked up at the Thai place. But right next door, there's a bottle shop, and I bought a 4-pack of beer. Nobody in there had a mask on. So I don't know. Now that's several weeks ago, and now the Delta variant is now, I guess, sort of taking off.
Yeah.
And so maybe people are getting more cautious. I wear a mask, and I'm also trying to wear a mask too around. I'm not around a lot of children, but the little girl across the alley from me comes over a lot, and she's 7, I think.
Right. Yeah.
And she can't get vaccinated, and I hear different stories that even if you're vaccinated, you can carry it. And then I've also heard you can't carry it. So I don't know. And I thought it's better just to mask up when Francis
Well, if you're
over.
vaccinated, it's rare, but you can actually contract it.
Right.
If you do contract it, it's not generally as bad. The people who are ending up in the hospital, most of them are people who have not been vaccinated. But yeah, while you had it, if you had a breakthrough case, while you had it, you would be infectious.
It's not a hardship to wear a mask around Francis. So
right.
Or out in public at all. So I'm still masking up in stores.
Yeah,
inside,
me too. Well, I don't go to the store very often, but I have been doing that. So, but it was nice to get out. Marsha and I were talking about this before the episode started, and she said to me, "Kelly, have you been off the property since last March?"
It feels like maybe you have not been off your property.
The answer to that is pretty much no. Where did I go? Oh, I know. I went to meet some work friends. We got together and we worked on some stuff to get ready for classes. And I mean, we're talking about, Watsonville. So it was not that far away, maybe 25 miles, maybe 35 miles. I was like, oh my God, I don't think I've been in the car and gone this far in over a year. I mean, my longest car trip has been like to go pick up groceries or, go to the grocery store, which I don't do as very often. That's, during the worst of it, we had it delivered and then, or Robert would go get groceries. And then once everybody was vaccinated, Aunt Betty went back to doing some of the grocery shopping and Robert was doing the other grocery shopping. So, I'm lucky to not have to do that. It's not my favorite task anyway, but honestly, that's the furthest I'd gone.
You have staff to take care of it.
Yes. And so, there'll be days where I think, oh, I'll go out to Monterey and walk on the rec trail. But, like Robert takes the car, the truck is almost always now parked in the backyard. It's a little bit of it's not like, oh, just run outside and jump in the car, right? Yeah. And then if I'm going to take 2 dogs, I can't walk that far yet. So am I going to take one? What am I going to do with, am I going to take just Bailey because she can go far. She could do, a normal rec trail walk without stopping at every bush and lots of breaks. And then I leave Barry home. What am I going to do with him? Is Aunt Betty going to be home? Can she watch him? Or is she, does she have other things to do? So anyway, it's just it's just become so easy to stay at home. So it was, I have to say, it was really nice to blow the dust off, get out and actually smell the ocean. Yeah. So that was really, really nice.
And dust off your restaurant manners.
Exactly.
Did you know how to behave in the restaurant?
I did. Actually, yes. Yes, I
read
did.
I read in the New York Times that a lot of people don't want to go back to waiting tables because people are being so rude. They're out of practice going to a restaurant, I guess. So, well, I'll tell you why I had a beer already. I'm making an effort to get out of a certain room that's under my house. Cannot say the name. So I went for a hike today. I don't remember if I talked about this or not, but I went to visit. I did talk about this. That Ben is up. I went. Yes, I did. That's what part of the discussion. Anyway, there was a woman who was on that hike with me, and so I gave her my name and email address, and so she contacted me, and so we got together today and we did a hike. And then another friend of hers. And so when I got home, I gave the dog a bath because he was very dusty. I took a bath, and then I poured myself a beer and I laid on the bed and knitted for a while until it was time to record. So that's why I had a beer so early. But anyway, it was a nice hike, and I'm just going to say it was people who live here in the Northwest will know what I'm talking about. People who don't live in the Northwest will be kind of amused by the name of where I went. So the hike was to Fragrant Lake. I don't know why it's called Fragrant Lake. It didn't smell bad. It didn't smell good. It just was a lake. But anyway, it's near Larrabee State Park, which is on, this is the part that people are going to laugh, Chuckanut Drive. And so Kelly, full disclosure, before we recorded, we were looking up. I think when we first called, you said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm trying to figure out why is it called Chuckanut." Mm-hmm. So, and we figured out it's a native name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what is it?
Wikipedia says that it's Chuckanut. Well, there's a mountain range, and the Chuckanut is a word for a long beach far from a narrow entrance. Okay. So just south of Bellingham is what it says.
Yeah. So it basically connects, it's about 21 miles long. Oh, Kelly, we could walk it.
The trail. Oh, fun. Yeah.
21 miles. That's our number. Anyway, it runs from about Burlington. Now it's further north than Burlington up to Bellingham.
Okay,
and it runs along the water, so it reminds me very much of kind of Big Sur. Mm-hmm. Just a lane each direction. Steep wall on one side and steep drop off to the other side down to the water, and more trees than Big Sur, but it's just as dramatic as that. Really pretty. So anyway, we went on that hike today. So,
but not 21 miles.
No, we didn't do 21 miles. It's 4 or something.
Yeah,
it's not
nice.
But I have been out and about, and I don't know if you saw my Instagram post, but the in-laws, I should say actually technically my former brother-in-law and sister-in-law and nephew, but they came to visit, and I have to say we had a great time. It was just a fun visit. And we did all kinds of things, but one of the things we did is, as I talked about in the last episode, Ben is just obsessed with Index, Washington, because that's where all the walls are for climbing. And that's where I had gone 2 weeks ago for the hike. Well, they were having, on Saturday, July 31st, they were having a kind of an art festival with music and all different kinds of crafts for sale. And he really wanted us to go up there for it. And I thought, okay, whatever. So we went. It was really fun, really good music. They had brought in a trailer with a wood-fired pizza oven on it, so you could get pizza there. And
nice.
But so that was really fun. So we walked around, did that, and then they were really wanting to do a hike. So Ben said, yeah, there's a couple of different hikes, but the one I would recommend is one called Lake Serene. Now, I know I have listeners that live here in the Pacific Northwest or hikers, and they'll go, yes, Lake Serene. Because Ben said, I don't know. I said, how long is it? And he said, it's maybe like 6 miles round trip. And, the elevation gain, he said, I think it's less than 2,000. Wrong. It's 8 miles. I think, now I don't remember if it's 2,400 or 2,600 feet of elevation gain. Somebody's done a great job on the trail where so it's pretty easy going at the beginning, kind of wide and not a lot of rocks or roots for, on the trail. Mm-hmm. But the further you go, it becomes actually like stairs. The people who've built the trail, they've actually taken the rocks and put them in place where they actually form steps that you have to climb up. And then at certain points, they've actually brought big, like 4x8 beams and made stairs. It was hard. I have to say, it was really hard. And we started way too late because Ben and I got to Index about 10 o'clock in the morning, but my brother-in-law and sister-in-law and the nephew and Paul, they got there about 12:15. Even though we all left at the same time, they stopped and had breakfast and they did all the stuff along the way. So they were really late. They got there at 12:15, look at the art festival, then they decided they want lunch. And so we get to the trail at 2:50, which is way too late to be starting.
But I thought,
but I didn't know it was 8 miles.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, so we start out. It takes us about 2 hours to get to the top. I arrived at the top at 5, I think. And we hung out there till 6. And then we started the trip back down. And we got back to the trailhead probably around 8, about 8 o'clock at 8:30, something like that. Then we had to go from the trailhead back into Index. And the thing is, Index is such a small town, there's no restaurants there. And the pizza truck was gone. So we decided we have to find food. Because now it's like, by the time now we're, we get back to now it's like the minutes are just ticking away.
Yeah.
And it's now like 9:30. And so I said, I think the only thing we can do is just start heading down the road, down Highway 2, back towards Seattle and just see what we come up with. Well, everything's closed.
Right.
So the nearest town we can find anything is the city of Monroe, which is, they have fast food and everything. Well, no, but the thing is, if you're that starving, I don't think that you could be that picky. But nobody can eat McDonald's, nobody can eat Taco Time. So we end up at this pizza place, but the pizza place is now 10 o'clock, and they stop indoor dining at 10. So everybody walks away, and I said, but the door said they were open till 11. Well, they're open for takeout or delivery till 11. I said, let's just order the pizzas and we'll just go sit in the car.
The voice of reason, Marsha.
Because now it's, I know. So it's now, it's like 10:15, 10:30. We finally get this pizza. And my sister-in-law said to me, well, are we going to go find a picnic table? Where are we going to eat this? I said, you're eating in the car. We're not finding a picnic. We're not driving around at that hour of the night looking for a picnic table. And her son, my nephew, said, we've got all those chairs in the back of the car that Paul had brought for us to listen to music. I said, pull those chairs out. So we pulled the chairs out and set them up in the parking lot of the pizza place. And we sit there till about 11:30 at night in Monroe in the strip mall parking lot, eating pizza and salad and having root beer. And anyway,
nice.
I don't know. Do you know how, do you ever have that experience where something should be awful? Really, the idea of you're so hungry and you're tired and you're super sweaty, but now you're just really cold because you're wet and it's cold. But then you end up having like a great time sitting in the parking lot of the strip mall of the pizza place because we've been fed and we're laughing and everybody's sort of revived. It was like the funniest thing. And then in the middle of all of this, I posted a picture of this on Instagram, and the video is the street sweeper arrived to clean the parking lot. So we're sitting there now with this truck driving around, and I don't know, the whole thing was so ridiculous that I think in some ways it was sort of the highlight of the day in some ways, Do you know what I mean? Like something that should be so awful ended up being so funny.
An adventure.
Kind of an adventure, yeah. And I have to say, my nephew is 14, and that's that age. That's the age, grumpy and crabby, honestly.
Teenager.
And teenager, truthfully, that's how they are. He is the most chipper kid. I mean, he's just cheerful. He didn't complain once on that hike.
Yeah.
Happy. So it's like, oh my gosh, like teenagers can be happy. So yeah, just really, really just, it was a cool kid. And it was just a really, really fun visit from the family.
Nice. That's really good.
So yeah. But anyway, so those are my adventures in hiking. Because I have to get out of, as we know, we have to get out of a certain part of the house.
Well, and apparently I just need to get out of the property.
Yeah, you have to get off your property. Anyway. Well, okay. So we've now, I'm looking at the clock here. That's 22 minutes and we haven't even gotten to fiber. Should we talk a little fiber?
Yes, let's do. I think you have the most interesting things to talk about.
So I've been working on, the Atlas. It's a pullover, colorwork pullover by Jared Flood. And it's been really interesting. So since we last recorded, I finished the second sleeve. I stayed up till, today is Thursday, it's Tuesday night. I stayed up till 2:30 in the morning because I became obsessed with the sweater. So I attached both sleeves. So as a reminder, this is, bottom up. You knit the bottom, the sweater from the bottom up, then knit the sleeves and attach them under under the arms, and then do the yoke.
And when you attach them, it seems like a really amazingly high number of stitches.
Seems like an amazingly high number of stitches, and it's also, I have to say, it's really hard to attach them because you have the big circle of the body, and then you have these two little circles of the sleeves, and it's hard to get the well, they're not they're circular needles, but the certain section of the circular needles are straight, right? The part, and it's really, I have to say, it's really hard.
When I've done a sweater like that, I've used two circular needles, so that one of them is going like on the front part of one sleeve, the front of the sweater, and then the front part of the other sleeve. And then the other circular needle
that might be better.
The back part of the sleeve, the back of the sweater, and the back part of the other sleeve. Yeah, I was not able. I did a baby sweater that way because I was trying to understand the construction before I did a sweater that I was making. And when I did the baby sweater, I think that's where I found that suggestion. Because in a baby sweater is especially hard because the turns are so tight.
Yeah, really tight then, Yeah.
So it was like, oh, okay, this is not just good for a small sweater. This would work really well. I was having that same trouble with the large sweater, so I used the two circular needles. You have to make sure you keep track of where's the starting row marker supposed to go. Right. I had suggested that to Aunt Betty on a sweater that she was doing. And she was having a little bit of trouble at first because it was color work too. And so she had to kind of like rethink when the pattern says at the start of your round. Well, the start of her round wasn't between the two needles, the two sets of circular needles. Like it wasn't the middle of the sleeve.
Right.
Does that if that makes sense?
Yeah, no, it does. I probably should have done that because it was kind of a struggle. I have to admit, it was not really, but I wrestled it.
But you're done already.
Submission.
Yeah. Wrestled.
I completely wrestled the thing. So the sleeves are attached, and so that night, Tuesday night, as I say, I stayed up till about 2:30 in the morning, attaching the sleeves, and then I did 2 rows of the color work. And then it's like, okay, I was still wide awake at 2:30. I thought, you have to go to bed. Right. This is ridiculous. So
well, after that, and still being wide awake, if you did keep going, you could have been awake all night.
I know. So I've learned, so as everybody knows, I've not really done color work. I did it years ago, and I did it the wrong way. I just kept dropping and picking up the different colors, and that's not the way you're supposed to do it. So, I talked about this in the last episode, but Jared Flood has a great video, which there's a link on the show notes, about how to, about color dominance. So we talked about that. So I do know that the dominant color is in your left hand, and I guess the submissive colors are in your right hand. And so then he has a really good video too about trapping the yarn. Mm-hmm. And so that's excellent. What I did not know how to do though when I was doing the color work is there's some areas where you are, so let me just say, when the submissive colors in your right hand, you're throwing, right? And the dominant color in your left hand, you're picking. Mm-hmm. I throw when I knit. I don't know what throwing is really called. I always have the yarn in my right hand and I throw. And so I don't pick or continental with the yarn in my left hand. So I'm having to learn, sort of get comfortable with that. So he talks about picking up or trapping the yarn, but throwing. So with the yarn is in your right hand. I didn't know
he knits with both colors in his right hand. Is that right? I think that's what you said in the.
That's true. He was demonstrating holding the dominant color in your right hand, but he also does. He said he's more comfortable holding both colors in his right hand. Mm-hmm. So I had to watch a video. How do you trap the yarn continental style? Mm-hmm. And so I I found one really good. It's short. It's only a minute long, and it's from knittinghelp.com, and they have a great video at just trapping the yarn continental in parentheses. So I have that in the show notes. So I had to figure that out. And there are, all these, everybody says this, but what did we do before we had YouTube? Because there's so many tutorials. You can get a question answered instantly by looking at a YouTube video. Yeah. What I'm at now, though, is, and I talked about this before, is the chart tells you, the color work is 3 colors, and it tells you which is going to be the dominant color each row. Let me restate that a better way. Each row indicates which is the dominant color and which is the submissive color. So, and then some of the rows, you have the dominant color in your left hand, and some of them you're going to have 2 submissive colors in your right hand.
Okay, yeah.
This has got me confused. I'm not sure how you do yarn management with 2 colors in with 3 colors. Mm-hmm, so 1 in my left hand and 2 in my right hand. So I have to, I've stopped because I now need to go watch there's got to be a video about how you do that. Yeah. Because right now I was started out and I'm just twisting the yarn. I mean, the yarn keeps getting twisted and twisted. And so there's got to be a way, perhaps his technique of holding the 2 colors where you twist your hand. Mm-hmm. I'll have to watch that again.
I had 3 colors when I did the Orca's Run sweater in some rows, very few. Mm-hmm. But there were some rows where I ended up with the white, the dark brown, and the beige color of the CVM. And I think I looked up something, but it was really a matter of just kind of like angling your finger one way or the other. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you didn't really have to twist it. It turned out that you didn't really have to twist anything. I could not describe it to you now, but when I was doing it, I do remember it was kind of like something about the angle of your finger holding the yarn. So yeah, I'm sure you can find something, because I must have found it. I must have found it somewhere. Although I'm not much of a video tutorial person. I would much rather see the words, like a blog post. I'm sure I probably found a blog post somewhere. What people used to do before YouTube. They had blog posts. And then before that, they had grandmothers and mothers.
Really? Right.
Who taught them, I guess, or friends. It doesn't involve all that twisting. Mm-hmm. Although I guess your yarn could get twisted up as you're going, but you really aren't twisting things. Yeah.
So I've done, let me see, how many rows have I done of this so far? I've done 8 rows.
Okay.
And I have a total...
How's the color looking?
It looks pretty good. I've not done really any more than I did. I've not done as much as I did of my sample.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because I remember with your swatch, you were feeling, you were telling yourself to just keep going with that plan, but you were kind of questioning how it was going to look. So I'm curious. I'm
still questioning, but I'm plowing ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I have no choice.
Right. You have the yarn. You have the yarn you have. Yeah.
I have the yarn I have, and I don't, and there really are, I think there's only 8 colors,
Mm-hmm.
and they're really the only one that would possibly work is maybe like the cream, a bit more contrast.
Right.
But
right. But that wasn't what Mark wanted.
No, but everything else is sort of, I don't know. I just don't think it would work. No, I'm plowing ahead, and I like this yarn. It's a woolly wool, and I'm finding all kinds of things in it. Straw and bits of plastic. I'm not sure where that's from. But it's almost like they bundle the wool up in a that plastic, like blue tarps, that are sort of fibrous, kind of like
feed bags.
Yeah.
This is the reason that you should never, if you're a fiber producer, you should never store your fiber in a feed bag.
Okay.
Those plastic feed bags, because that's basically what they are. They're woven plastic strips.
Yeah.
They're woven out of plastic strips, and those plastic strips break off, and anyway, it gets in the wool, and that's what you're seeing. Yeah.
Yeah, and just before we started recording, I pulled, it's like a little piece. I'm like, oh, I'm going to pull that out because that can't be comfortable, having that in there. I'll pull it out, and it's like, wait a minute, it's like, how? And then it's like it was about 2 inches long.
Yeah, spun into
the
it really degrades the price of your wool. I can't even remember now where I heard this. It must have been at a fleece judging where someone was talking about it and how bad it is for the price of your wool if you have any of that plastic in it. So anyway, that's when you said that, I was like, oh, I remember hearing about this stuff.
Mm-hmm. But that's all I have for projects, other than I have not picked up my socks. I've not picked up my shawl. I have in the evenings, like in the nice weather, I've just been sitting on the deck and spinning for about an hour, 45 minutes or so. So I'm still spinning, but not no progress of significance to report.
Yeah, you still have quite a bit of that spinning to do before you're finished with that project.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I've just been obsessed with this sweater. So.
Well, that's cool. It sounds like it's going to be really pretty.
I think it's going to be pretty. It's shockingly bright. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think most men want to wear this sweater, but Mark he likes color.
Yeah.
No,
I think it's going to be really pretty.
Yeah. You'll see him on the beach from a mile away.
Right. Well, Robert has a couple of T-shirts that are bright like that. Mm-hmm. He has a bright Kelly green one and bright orange. And
he likes bright socks, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Mark likes bright socks, too. So anyway. Well, enough of my projects. What about you? What's going on with your cardigan?
Well, yeah, I'm also pretty monogamous. And not very much has happened. Although I think from the last episode, I have actually finished and bound off the bottom.
Mm. Oh, so wow.
I think I was in the pockets.
Yeah, we were
talking about the pockets. Mm-hmm. And so the pockets are, I want to say, like 6 inches deep. Mm-hmm. I think I might have gone a little too far. I thought I was following the pattern and counting, but maybe not. I think I was supposed to have 5 of the honeycombs, and that's what I have. Mm-hmm. So I have the pockets. They're kind of, well, it's not blocked, so you can't really tell. And the ribbing on the top and the cables pulled them in. But right now they look like skinny, deep pockets. Mm-hmm. But I think once it's blocked, they'll be more proportional. And they actually won't look that deep. So I got past I finished the pockets. I did I think it's 1 inch of ribbing or 1.5 inches of ribbing at the bottom, which seemed too short to me because I always put I love ribbing. So I just do a lot at the bottom, but I didn't. I thought this sweater is already long enough because it's tunic kind of, well, like a sweater you could wear over leggings and your behind will not show.
Right.
So I don't know if you'd call that tunic length, but it is long. That was that's what I wanted. And I looked on the project pages. Oh, by the way, the name of this sweater is called Dark Green Forest. And if you look on the pattern, I think on the pattern page it looks pretty long. But then if you look on the project pages, there are quite a few people who put quite a bit of length into the sweater. I mean, it is designed to be long. The woman, the very first picture shows it like below the pocket, below the back pocket of a pair of jeans. So anyway, I'm excited about the progress that I've made because I got to bind off the bottom. But then once I bound off the bottom, it just sat for a while. And then the other night I picked it up and I needed something just mindless to do. So I worked the pocket lining of one of the pockets. So while we've been sitting here right now, I've picked up the stitches for the other pocket lining. But I'm not very good at counting. I think I've admitted that before. And for these pocket linings, I really want to make sure I do the right number of rows. So I'm not knitting on it right now because I know I would. It's such a short little bit of knitting that I know I would go across and back and across and be like, oh, wait, am I on this row or did I just do 2 rows? And so I'm not knitting on it right now. It's sitting on my lap and I'm petting it. But then I have to pick up the sleeves and I'm going to admit to something here. So how many conversations have we had about alternating skeins?
Oh my God, Kelly, don't tell me.
So I am alternating skeins. I am.
Okay.
And what did I tell you about your sweater? How you should like save off some of the yoke yarn for the sleeves so that you're not going to start the sleeves with a totally different skein. Guess what I did not do? I did not save any of that yarn at that level where I separated off for the sleeves. So I think it'll be all right.
Well, we're always good at giving advice, but not following our own advice.
I know.
Right?
Like, what's the point of learning from your mistakes? If then after you've learned from the mistake, you make the same mistake again another time. I mean, I felt like I learned from my mistakes because I was able, they say, if you can teach another person, then you know something. And I taught you how to do that. I talked about it in the podcast. I taught all our listeners about that. And yet I just plowed ahead. So there will be a color change mark. But it's very slight. And there's a color change mark when one of my skeins ran out and I had to put another one in. It's just, hand-dyed yarn. So I don't know. I'll look for the skein that looks the most. I mean, this is the problem. They all look exactly the same. So maybe it will be more fine than I think. But I wish I had a few yards of the where I left off with the sleeve to blend in the next one. So anyway, lesson learned again. I know. And I was trying to think, well, could I undo it and like rip back? But you can't, because if I rip back, I'm going to be ripping it back across the body. Not doing that. So we'll see. I'll report back. But it's not meant to be a, go out to dinner sweater. So it's not going to be a big deal if it's terrible. But I don't think it'll be terrible. I just wish I had remembered. Like, it's dumb not to remember that.
Yes, it is. But you know what? I would have done. I mean, the thing is, I made is very similar. I mean, sort of the same vein as this sweater that I don't even remember now what it was called. Remember, we dyed the yarn at your house. The teal color. Yeah,
that the No, that wasn't the Recoleta.
No,
that was a dark
on my
one.
page looking at this, right? And I
remember you talking
oh, here it
about
is.
that.
Northern Lights. Oh no, I'm sorry. It's called Iba. And it's Iba, IBA by Bonnie Marie Burns, and I called it Northern Lights Iba, and it almost looks like it's variegated yarn. If you look, I'm looking at the pictures of it now, and that's what I did is I knit the whole body, and then I went to pick up the sleeves, and they're completely different. So I had to rip I ripped it all the way back and just recast on and redid the whole thing, alternating skeins. So dumb.
Yeah, because you didn't alternate at all.
I didn't alternate at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, at least I managed to do that.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah,
dumb.
I was like, oh well. Oh well. Well, we'll see. I mean, maybe there you won't even be able to tell where I pick up the sleeves, but I think you probably will.
No. It's funny.
Oh, well.
It's just a comment. I haven't worn that sweater in years. And when did I finish that? 2018. I need to wear that
We should do a sweater roundup on one of our episodes where we just get out all our sweaters and we just talk about them and whether we're going to keep them.
Why we don't wear them.
Or why we don't wear them. Or the ones we do wear, why do we wear them? That would be very interesting. We should do that. Let's do that next episode.
Okay, I'm going to write this down.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be interesting. I would like to know. Well, and the other thing about skeins and hand spun is that with a funky grandpa sweater, in that one I was saved by the stripes because it has those little thin stripes of dyed color. Because that yarn, that was a sweater's worth of wool that I carded and spun. And those skeins, when I would put a new skein on, just because of the variation in the wool, those skeins were different colors. It was natural. I hadn't dyed it at all. It was just the natural gray, but the skeins were different colors. And so even if I were making a sweater out of hand spun that wasn't dyed, I might consider alternating skeins. When you have done a sweater's worth from a fleece, the skeins can be very different. Not the whole skein is different, but the part of the skein where you start the new skein can be different than the part of the skein where you leave off.
Right.
And it can make a stripe.
Right.
You can have a sharp division of color. Whereas within the skein, you have color variation, but it's not a sharp division of color. Yeah. So anyway, that's just a tip if you're planning to do a hand spun sweater with your summer spinning yarn. But that's where I am with my projects. That's the only thing I worked on. I did not do any spinning, I don't think, since the last episode. Really, everything that I have, all my creative energy has been going toward getting my class materials ready for school. We don't start until, students come back on the 30th of August. So I still have a good chunk of summer left, which feels really good. But, we'll be I'm online. Our classes we're trying to get back face-to-face, more classes. So they have some that are fully face-to-face, very few. Some that are hybrid, where students will be on campus 1 or 2 days a week, and then the rest of it is online. And that's a type of class we've always had. That's just not the pandemic. We've always had hybrid classes and online classes. But we have many more online classes, now with the pandemic, and very few hybrid or face-to-face, about maybe 40%, I think. But my classes are all online because I work so dang hard to get them ready. Plus, I am not confident that we're going to stay.
Oh, in class.
Any of the, yeah. I think that at some point during the fall semester, it's likely that we might have to close down the face-to-face classes. So I didn't want to be in a position to have started with plans to do face-to-face and then ended up online anyway. So I just elected to do, I selected online classes. So anyway, been working on those, and actually it's been fun. I've been enjoying that work, and it's been a long time since I've thought it was really fun to get my classes prepared. Yeah. So, I've had some professional development, and some of the things that we've done in these workshops, I'm now getting to implement, and I'm feeling more comfortable with the system that we're using. And so anyway, it's been really fun, and it's quite a creative process because you have to create all these materials. You know, all the things I would have told, oh, well, this is obvious, but when you really think about all the things you would have told students while you were in class, because I'm doing an asynchronous online format. So everything I would have told students in class now has to be created to be provided to them on the learning management system. So that's a lot of content creation.
Yeah.
But it's a creative, I mean, it feels creative to me. So it's been pretty fun.
That's good, because it didn't start out so fun. This whole online things. I'm glad you're having some fun with it now.
Yeah, then I won't go into a lot of detail about my pain and agony. Everyone's heard it. But yeah, I'm getting some of the, I'm starting to reap some of the benefits of the learning that, all of that learning that I had to do. Yeah. And so that's nice. It's nice when you move from rank novice to feeling like you actually have a little bit of expertise in something. That is a good feeling. So it's taken a while, but I'm starting to feel that way. So ask me again in November.
Okay.
We'll see whether I have progressed from rank novice to having some expertise or not. When it's not hypothetical. So anyway, yeah, that's all of my projects. I am going to just talk briefly about one of Robert's projects because it's so interesting. So we have a toilet that is 1938. I think the date stamped on the toilet is 1938. Purple. And it hasn't worked for a while. The mechanism on the inside was leaking, and he tried to get another one, and it was still leaking. And so for a while we were using it, like turn the water off at the wall after you use it, go back in to use it, turn the water on at the wall, use it, turn the water off, which was terrible because the thumping in our pipes, I mean, something about that particular valve made that thumping sound happen in the pipes almost every time. And sometimes it was like, oh my God, it's going to shake them loose and they're going to break, and that can't be good. So he took it out and put in a more modern toilet. Oh, the idea was we're going to do this for now and then see what we can do with this toilet. So anyway, he's been cleaning it out. Well, okay, it was not a dirty toilet. It was cleaned before it was taken out of the house. So, but he's been cleaning off all of the mineral deposits from, since 1938. And so he's been working on this project for about, 5 days with different kinds of products, first starting with vinegar and then moving on to hydrochloric acid. He brought me in a chunk. I took a picture and I showed it to Marsha when we were first starting to get ready to record. He brought a chunk of this in that had just come off, and he said there were like 4 or 5 of them. It's like 3/8 of an inch thick of calcium deposits.
It's shocking. I had no idea.
We'll put a picture in the show notes. Yeah. We have hard water, and then think, 80 some years of hard water deposits. It's a chunk, a good 3/8 of an inch thick and about 4 inches long. And he said there were, I think, at least 4 of them that came off like that. 4 big pieces like that, plus a whole bunch of other little bits that came off. But yeah.
Who knew? I mean, it's just amazing. I really is kind of
So, and I could do the math. I'm kind of curious. I can't do it in my head here during the podcast, but think about the circumference of the pipe, where it flushes, the circumference, and think about going in 3/8 of an inch all the way around. Like how much smaller that is, how much that restricts the flow. So anyway, very interesting. It's been an interesting project. He's found a place to get the interior workings of the toilet. He found out the model number. He's going to be able to, I think, get the interior workings, but they're back ordered. it's not the same kind of interior workings as the like a modern toilet has. So anyway, I'm excited about this project, but very gross. The calcium. I mean, it's just calcium.
It's calcium, but
it's gross.
I find it less gross as more just sort of amazing that, well, what I want to know is like, what's it do to your insides? Like you're drinking that water, right? Is it just passing it through?
Yeah, it doesn't just sit there. Well, it's calcium. Your body uses it.
Oh, that's true. You're absorbing it, I guess.
Think. Yeah. I would think. I don't know. But this little chunk, it has all these striations, like archaeology.
Yeah, you need to count all of those and see if it. So
count the rings.
So like how many years is that? 1938 to 1921.
It's over 80.
Over 80 years. Oh, see, that's why you're the math.
Yeah, it's over 80 years.
So you have like in theory you got 80 layers.
Yeah.
You need to get a bandsaw, cut it in half, and count the layers.
When I was in junior high. I grew up in Fremont, and in Fremont, well, right now it's the Tesla plant, but it was the GM plant. There was a GM auto plant there. And when I was in junior high, I took a plastics class. And so we got to use all the tools, lathe and bandsaw and sanding and all that like they do in wood shop and metal shop, but it was with plastic. And one of the things that we got to work with, which I thought was really fun. And it's the same idea. It's all the auto paint that had built up on the pipes over the, there's like piping over the, I want to say conveyor belt. I don't know if that's the right word, but in the
assembly line, I guess.
Assembly line. Yeah. So there's like a pipe and the paint spray. So these layers of paint build up on these pipes, and then they would crack them off. And you'd get this big chunk of layers of paint, and then you could sand it down and make things out of it. So people make rings or small things, but it was about probably maybe 3/4 of an inch thick, and round, like round on one side because it had been attached to a pipe, and then you'd sand it down and shape it and all that. And it was really fun because you could get some really cool colors, and you could see the rings, like the rings of, in wood. And it was all different colors depending on what they were painting. And so that's kind of cool. And it was, kind of ugly at first because it was all rough and, but I don't think you could polish this calcium deposit.
No.
I don't know. Maybe you could. I'm not going to do it.
Well, it'll be interesting to see, if once he gets the new mechanism, how well it works, because it probably was so constricted. There's no flow, Yeah.
Yeah, no, it didn't work very well before. But I can see why. So anyway, that's it's not my project, but it's something that has been going on here that I think is interesting to share. So, all right. Well, we do have the summer spin in, and that ends in about a month. So keep spinning. And we are going to have prizes. We're going to have prizes provided by 3 Green Sisters. So get your finished objects into the finished object thread. There's one for skeins, finished skeins, and one for finished projects made out of handspun. So we don't have as many people participating as last year, but we do have quite a few people participating. And we do have a lot of people who are still weaving from the winter weave along. So that's kind of fun to still be going into the winter weave along thread and seeing.
I have to get going on my spinning project. I have to finish it by the 6th. I have to get going.
You have a month? Yeah. Well, you have time.
I can do it.
You have time.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is we wanted to take some time to thank our patrons. So we have a Patreon account, and that's a way that listeners can contribute to the podcast if they'd like to. You sign up to be a patron at a particular level, and then you just make that contribution monthly. The idea of it is it's a, monthly contribution for however long you would like to support us. Mm-hmm. And we have some patrons that I want to thank. So I'm going to just read off the names. And then we also have a Patreon patron giveaway. So I just want to make sure that we thank Connie and Cheryl and Jan and Hetty and Jane and Colleen, Mindy, Iman, Amy, and Patty and Joan. And we have Tammy and Teresa to thank, and Kathy and Natalie. Thank you so much. Martha, Melody, Angie, Joanne, Joy Lane. Thank you. Greta, Barbara, Rachel W., Angela, Vicky, Charlene, Erica N., Debbie, Erica J., Rachel S., Pat, Karen, Catherine, Jen, and Janet. So yes, thank you so much. Yeah. I really appreciate all of the support from our patrons, and the funds that come in through the Patreon account go to our hosting fees, prizes, our shipping costs. All of those things are transcribing to make the transcript. We have that expense. All of that is covered by our patrons. Mm-hmm. So we really appreciate all they do for the podcast and making it available to everyone. So
thank you.
Yeah. Oh, so what we're going to do?
Yeah, we're not done.
We're not done.
We're thanking them, but we're thanking them in another way too. So
exactly. Any of our patrons can get a pattern of their choice up to $8. So all they have to do is contact me on Ravelry. Let me know what your pattern selection is. And then I'll just go ahead and get that pattern dropped into your Ravelry inbox.
Yeah.
So we just want to let people know how much we appreciate their support.
Yeah. So start looking at your patterns, pick your favorite pattern and let us know.
Yeah. It's always interesting. We did this last summer and it was really interesting to see what people were choosing. Mm-hmm. I got a few things added to my queue.
Oh yeah. Dangerous.
Yeah. Inspirational, you could say.
Okay. Well, anything else?
No, I think that will do it for us, Marsha.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go back to my sweater.
Okay.
Get lost in color work.
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah. Hopefully when we record in 2 weeks, I'll have the yoke done. We'll see.
Oh, that'll be good. Yeah.
We'll see. Anyway. All right.
Okay.
Well, we'll talk in 2 weeks.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2ewesfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am betterinmotion and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2 Ewes
doing our part for World Fleece.